Welcome everyone to another edition of Willow's Weather Briefing. Today is Sunday, June 8th, 2025. A big day in terms of severe weather. We have a moderate risk of severe thunderstorms for the southern plain, primarily for a wind risk that will persist in the afternoon into the evening. We also have a separate slight risk of severe thunderstorms from the eastern coastal plain and adjacent Piedmont up to the DC area. We also have multiple slight risks of excessive rainfall, one associated with our MCS here around the southern plains. We also have one associated with the ongoing training convection here in central Alabama and portions of the southeast. We also have another slight risk of excessive rainfall from eastern Ohio into the mid-Atlantic associated with our thunderstorms up there. We also have wildfire smoke coming in from Canada being pushed by this cold front that is going to continue on to the southeast and affect areas such as western Montana into the central plains and portions of the Midwest regions. Much cooler than average temperatures for the central to northern plains and Midwest due to this cold frontal passage. And we also have much above average temperatures for the west due to a building ridge. Here is our current satellite look. I already discussed a lot of the pertinent features, but this upper level low this surface low is the reason why we're seeing this cold frontal push downward, and the intersection of this cold front and dry line will be the impetus for our quick upscale growth of severe weather into this damaging wind risk over here in the southern plains region. Here is yesterday's storm reports, a swath of sub-severe wind reports over here in the southeast. Sorry, these are severe wind reports. They just aren't significant wind reports over here in the southeast. Some isolated storms dropped some large hail here in northeastern New Mexico and the Texas Panhandle. Here's our current drought monitor look. The solid lines demarcate the areas of highest drought. Here is our current watches and warnings. We have excessive heat warnings and watches all across the northwest into southwest Texas, and we also have excessive heat warnings into the southern basin. Red flag warnings for northeastern Montana associated with high winds and that passage of that cold front up there. We also have some air quality alerts for some wildfire smoke in Minnesota, upstate New York, and other portions of the Northeast. Flood watches for the Allegheny Plateau over here in southwest Pennsylvania, southeast Ohio, and into northern West Virginia. Sporadic flash flood warnings over here in portions of the southeast. Here is our current surface map. We have this large cold front that's pushing its way to the southeast, which again, along with this dry line that's set up right here in the high plains, is going to be the impetus for our severe weather today. These storms are going to move its way southeast, bringing a flash flooding and significant severe threat over here in the southern plains. We also have a secondary area of severe weather expected over here with some reinvigoration of convection in the southeastern regions, as well as a flash flood warning or flash flood threat for portions or northern portions of that risk area associated with that lifting warm front. Here's our day 2. The cold front continues its way towards the southeast, bringing additional severe weather and flash flooding threats to the eastern U.S. And that cold front will continue eastward, bringing some much needed cooler temperatures for a lot of these areas. But another flash flooding threat is expected over here associated with this stalling frontal boundary here in Texas. Here is our excessive rainfall forecast. We have multiple areas of slight risk for excessive rainfall, one of which is over here associated with our very significant severe weather threat today. We have a possibility of 4 inches of rain or higher for these regions right here. There's slight risk down here in the southeast from central Mississippi to central Alabama. It's mainly for storms that are ongoing, training thunderstorms making its way through this area. Up to 4 inches of rain is possible within these areas. Also, a slight risk for portions of the Allegheny Plateau down towards the mid Atlantic regions, primarily for 2 to 3 inches of rain. Tomorrow, we have slight risk associated with some storms that may form along that cold front over here from eastern Ohio up to New York State, upstate New York State. Day 3, Tuesday, we have a slight risk of excessive rainfall over here in southeastern New Mexico into much of western Texas, associated with that stalling front and dryline intersection, bringing some additional training thunderstorms to this area. Day 4, again, that stalling front will cause another slight risk for much of central Texas into south central Oklahoma. Same thing on day 5, that stalling front will cause some training thunderstorms over here along northern Texas into eastern Oklahoma. Here's our fire weather outlook. Elevated fire risk associated with some high winds with that frontal passage over here in eastern Montana. Here's our severe weather convective outlook. Moderate risk for portions from the Texas Panhandle all the way to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metro. This includes cities within the Dallas-Fort Worth Metro, but as well Wichita Falls, Texas, Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Again, as I stated before, this is primarily for a destructive, damaging wind risk that will come to fruition around this afternoon into the evening areas, into the evening time frames. But also significant damaging hail is also a possibility for much of this region, as well as a few tornadoes possible. You also have a slight risk of severe weather for the eastern coastal plain into the adjacent Piedmont regions. This is primarily for a damaging wind threat for all of this region, but further north towards the Richmond vicinity, we do have a elevated hail and a tornado threat up in those regions. Here is our day 2 outlook. We have a broad slight risk for much of the southeastern regions and also a skinny portion associated with that cold front moving up towards the Allegheny Plateau. This is primarily for a damaging wind risk. The other hazards are fairly low. Day 3 outlook, marginal risks highlighted here associated with where the cold front is. Looking at our heat risk for today, we have peak heat for this ongoing heat wave that's going on in southern Texas towards Louisiana and the Gulf Coast regions of the southeast. Expect temperatures up towards the high 90s with heat indices reaching well into the hundreds, up to 110 degrees into some of these portions. We also have a heat wave starting to build over here in the inner west regions. Today we expect temperatures around the mid 90s for most of these, but won't peak until tomorrow, which will see temperatures reaching up to 100 degrees in portions of these regions, possibly breaking record highs. We also have another region of heat building tomorrow in the southern basin, which will bring temperatures mostly widespread around the mid hundreds to high hundreds, with the lower elevations of the southern basin reaching around 110 degrees or higher. This heat is expected to deplete with the passage of that cold front in the southern regions by early this week. Here is our 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, above average for most of the U.S. besides the west coast, which is below average. Here is our 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, above average for the eastern and northwestern United States, below average for the basin regions. Now taking a look at our HREF for our storm timing. We have ongoing showers and thunderstorms in portions of the southeast and pretty clear skies for portions of the southern plains, but that will quickly change as we get the heating that's needed to lift those moist parcels up into the air and bring us some clouds and thunderstorms. This intersection of the cold front and dry line will bring pretty widespread convection pretty early on into the peak heating period, possibly around 19 to 20 Z. is around 2 to 3 p.m. We'll start seeing that convection in southwestern Kansas around the Oklahoma Panhandle area. And then we'll see storms fairly quickly grow upscale into a cluster and then a line of systems or multiple lines of systems that will move its way through the moderate risk region through the very late afternoon through the evening hours. We expect these lines of storms to possibly reach the Dallas-Fort Worth area at around 4Z, which is around 10 to 11 p.m. We'll possibly see those severe thunderstorms reach that metro area. Over here in the eastern risk region, there are going to be scattered showers and thunderstorms pretty much all day throughout the region, but we'll see particular reinvigoration of convection for the northern extent, which will bring our peak hazard time frame at around possibly 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern in those areas up there near the Richmond vicinity. So that is going to be it for today's weather briefing. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Comment if you have any constructive criticism. And as always, if you want any specific information regarding your area, please refer to your local broadcaster, National Weather Service meteorologists. Thank you and have a great day.